So for Ms. Yak and Mr. Gibson, can you please describe the work that is being done at the Tech Center to support and validate the unmanned efforts by your fellow panelists? And to the other panelists, could you give us some comments on what your experience is in working with the Tech Center with the UAS experts and how that is all integrating into what you're doing?
Okay, I will go first, and then I'll hand it off to Mr. Gibson. So the work at the Center for UAS Integration has been on both small and large vehicles, and it includes operational concepts, developing system requirements, integration and field testing, as well as establishing laboratory capabilities. For instance, the Tech Center has a UAS laboratory, and we have it linked with our DoD and our NASA labs. And this is where we conduct human-in-the-loop simulations.
Excuse me, did you say DoD and NASA?
NASA.
NASA,
that's
okay.
Correct. And we've done human-in-the-loop simulations that have integrated UAS data in with our NAS systems. We are also very much involved in the UTM research, where we have members on our research transition teams for UTM, that's UAS traffic management. And they're involved in concept development as well as data exchange and information architecture, communication and navigation, as well as sense and avoid. Our research performers are also working on UAS detection at the airport, who will probably talk about that a little bit more. And we're developing the test suite for the final certifications of new systems in regards to command and control and data link. So those are a lot of the technical side of what we're doing. And Mr. Gibson, if you take it from there.
Mr. Chairman, as you know, I'm involved, as I mentioned, a lot of the counter-UAS work that's been underway. We started through the Tech Center at Atlantic City and expanded on that. They've been the program managers for me, and they've been deeply involved in all the planning, setup, and soon to be all the data deconstruction so that we can come out with some minimum performance standards. So that includes Denver has been in that. We worked with the FBI at JFK, and our next test will be at DFW towards the end of the month. That'll be our last large test of those systems, the airport protection systems, and they've been wonderful to work with in that and provided a lot of the engineering background.
Any of our other panelists, have you had experience in working with the Tech Center? And could you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, sir. Thanks for the question. I'm glad you mentioned the RTT because that's one of those fundamental building blocks that we've been working with in partnership with the FAA on especially programs such as data exchange, which allow for the exchange of information between aircraft, which then can be a form of managing safe airspace access and also being aware of, where the other vehicles are in the same kind of volume of airspace. So it's a great activity that's hosted by the FAA.
Anyone else? No? So timing-wise, I don't have enough time for my next question on cybersecurity, but we'll come back to it. Thank you. Coming back to the Tech Center, Ms. Yak, we talked about cybersecurity a little bit today, and it certainly has become a growing risk affecting businesses and consumers. We receive daily reports of cyber attacks being carried out by both individuals and state actors. Very fortunately, up to this point in time, the aviation industry has yet to experience a cyber catastrophe. In this unclassified setting, could you tell us anything about how the FAA and the work being performed at the Tech Center is addressing cybersecurity threats in the national airspace system, and what you think is required to stay ahead of the problem of hostile actors?
Thank you, Chairman, for the question. I would divide that question into two parts and how we're addressing it. Earlier, I mentioned the cybersecurity test facility and some of the work that we do in support of our information monitoring capabilities, as well as evaluating the tools and procedures for vulnerability assessments on our national airspace system and our information systems, our mission support systems. So we have a process in place that utilizing that labs will check for vulnerabilities, will assess risk of against those vulnerabilities, and then we'll start testing what the mitigation solutions are from a system perspective. And then we'll test that out in the laboratories. Now, if we move over to the aircraft itself, we are looking at the aircraft because that's becoming more and more IP-based also, and we're looking to put the same type of structure in place for the aircraft systems. Again, assessing vulnerabilities, looking at the risks, and doing mitigation for protection. We've partnered up with the Department of Homeland Security on their cybersecurity initiative on the aircraft, and we're sharing resources, tools, and DHS has actually gotten us a Boeing 757, which is located on our ramp and is now a test article for that type of testing. So we look at it from an aircraft perspective, and we also look at it from a system perspective. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We got everybody. Mr. Webster, you okay? Okay. This was extremely informative and helpful, I believe, to all of our witnesses. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your expertise and what you bring to help solve the problems, and the committee stands adjourned.